Powerful people don't see the world the way you do. They move inside a web of alliances, subtle exchanges, and unspoken debts. They don't call it friendship. They call it leverage. And that's the first law of social climbing. To connect with power, you must understand that no bond is ever neutral. Every connection either raises or lowers your position in the invisible hierarchy that governs all human relationships. Most people fail here because they treat the powerful like people, not systems. They think being liked is enough. They think admiration, respect, or even hard work will open doors. It won't. Power has its own language, and you must speak it fluently. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago, when he observed that favor with rulers was not earned through virtue, but through usefulness. To be useful to someone above you is to become part of their machine. To be admirable but irrelevant is to be invisible. So the first law is simple. Never approach power as a beggar. Approach as an answer. The moment you show need, you've already lost status. The moment you show value, you change the dynamic. People with power are surrounded by takers, advisors, flatterers, parasites disguised as allies. They instantly feel when someone adds weight to their empire or drains it. Your task is to position yourself as a stabilizer, someone who quietly makes things easier, smoother, stronger. You don't compete with their power, you complete it. But to do that, you must follow the second law. Observe before you move. The greatest mistake a social climber makes is acting too fast, speaking too much, revealing too soon. Machiavelli wrote that one must study menace. One studies the terrain before battle. The powerful often hide behind personas, but their real desires, fears, and insecurities always leak through subtle cracks. Tone, timing, who they listen to, who they interrupt. You are not there to impress yet. You are there to diagnose, because once you know what they truly crave, recognition, loyalty, amusement, admiration, you can deliver it in a form they cannot resist. And that leads to the third law. Mirror their world, not yours. The powerful expect familiarity, not foreigners. They trust those who reflect their values back to them, even subtly. You don't copy, you harmonize. If they are pragmatic, you become practical. If they prize exclusivity, you speak in the language of rarity. It's not about deceit. It's about rhythm. When you match their rhythm, they stop feeling they're dealing with a stranger. They start believing you get it. And in that moment, your outsider status begins to fade. But harmony alone is not enough. Which brings us to the fourth law. Maintain mystery in your value. You must never appear fully known. When you reveal everything you can offer, you become a product, and products are replaceable. Machiavelli's genius was in understanding that partial revelation creates demand. You want them to sense that you have more depth than you show, more reach than you display, more connections than you admit. When they sense there's something you're not saying, curiosity replaces indifference. You go from being one of many to one of few. Yet this must be handled with precision, because the fifth law says, appear humble in ambition yet fierce in execution. The powerful despise overt hunger for status. It reminds them of their own climb, of the years they spent clawing up, and they prefer not to see that reflection. So you must appear calm, patient, indifferent to advancement. But when opportunities appear, you move decisively, even ruthlessly. The powerful recognize this duality instantly, restraint with purpose. It signals that you understand the rules, but play them with your own rhythm. Then comes the sixth law. Make powerful people compete for your loyalty. Nothing flatters the ego of a ruler more than believing someone of value chose them. If your allegiance feels automatic, it loses worth. You must position yourself as someone worth courting. The secret is to create light friction, not rebellion, but independence. If others of influence seek your time or respect, let that be known subtly. It raises your price without words. As Machiavelli warned, those who make themselves too available to a single master become disposable. The powerful protect what is hard to possess. And the seventh law. Learn to turn flattery into strategy. Empty praise is poison. The powerful hear it all day. What makes yours different is precision. Instead of saying you're brilliant, say your timing on that decision was exact. No one else could have read the moment that clearly. Now your compliment carries insight. It shows you understand what they pride themselves on. Discernment, intelligence, control. When you praise the right qualities, you reinforce their self-image. And when you reinforce their self-image, they associate that feeling with you. But you must never forget the 8th law. Never let your ambition outshine theirs. Even if you are more talented, more insightful, or more capable, you cannot display it too openly. Power has a fragile ego. Machiavelli warned that those who seem to threaten a prince's superiority will be crushed, not because they are dangerous, but because they make the ruler feel vulnerable. The art is to conceal your strength behind deference. Let your achievements appear to serve theirs. The clever social climber hides sharpness inside obedience. Power protects those who appear loyal and destroys those who appear equal. Now, once you've earned proximity, the 9th law becomes critical. Build alliances sideways, not upward. Many obsess over impressing those at the top, but the true gain lies in the circle around them. The gatekeepers, assistants, advisors, and trusted confidants. These people shape perception, control access, and whisper in the right ears. They are often more dangerous and more valuable than the figurehead themselves. Machiavelli would call them the invisible princes, the real holders of influence behind the throne. Befriend them quietly. Offer them small advantages. Win their protection. They'll carry your name upward without you ever asking. The 10th law, make gratitude a weapon, not a weakness. When someone powerful helps you, never respond like a servant. Respond like an equal who recognizes the exchange. A servant says, "Thank you once." A strategist shows appreciation through return value. Perhaps you solve a problem for them later, or bring them information that aids their goals. Gratitude backed by action transforms the dynamic. You are no longer our saver, but a contributor, and contributors are hard to remove. But let's not ignore the 11th law. Master the art of subtle rebellion. Total submission invites contempt. You must occasionally resist politely, intelligently, in a way that intrigues rather than threatens. A small disagreement here, a quiet defiance there. It signals individuality, not insubordination. It tells the powerful that you have our spine, and people without spines cannot be trusted. Machiavelli observed that those who flatter without boundaries soon lose credibility, but those who know when to say no carefully and with reason gain respect. The key is to disagree, as if you're protecting their interests, not attacking their authority. The 12th law flows from that. Control your visibility. Exposure is seductive but fatal if mishandled. When you are too often seen, your novelty fades. When you are rarely seen, but always remembered, you become mythic. Step back after each success. Retreat into silence. Let others speak your name. The powerful crave those who seem selective with their presence. It mirrors their own behavior. The less accessible you appear, the more they chase your attention. And the 13th law, the crown of them all, is to always move as though you belong. Even before you've earned a seat at the table, your posture, tone, and presence must signal certainty. Insecurity smells louder than arrogance. When you enter a room full of power, you don't wait to be accepted. You act as if acceptance is inevitable. Machiavelli would say that fortune favors the one who appears already favored. Power respects confidence that requires no confirmation. When you move like you belong, others will start to believe it before they even know why. And all of these laws orbit around one truth. Connection with power isn't about pretending to be more. It's about understanding the dance of perception. It's about offering presence instead of pleading, precision instead of flattery, control instead of chaos. The powerful aren't looking for equals. They're looking for reflections of their own dominance. And if you can mirror that without losing yourself, you won't just create connections. You'll build an empire of influence that grows quietly, invisibly, until the day comes when you no longer need to climb. Because by then, you've already arrived. But even arrival is an illusion. In the world of power, there's no such thing as a final position. Every circle, every alliance, every bond is fluid. What elevates you today can bury you tomorrow. Machiavelli understood this instability better than anyone. His secret wasn't just knowing how to rise, but how to stay elevated without becoming a target. That's the hidden continuation of these laws. How to keep your connections alive, valuable, and strategically aligned without ever being trapped by them. The next principle is subtle but vital. Never become predictable. The moment powerful people can fully anticipate you, they lose curiosity. And curiosity is what keeps them engaged. Predictability kills fascination. You must occasionally shift tone, direction, or energy just enough to stay unreadable. That doesn't mean chaos. It means being capable of surprising them without ever alarming them. Maybe you're the calm one who suddenly brings a brilliant idea to the table, or the quiet one who acts decisively when no one expects it. That spark of unpredictability creates an emotional hook. They remember you as the one who could always be counted on to break the monotony of their world. But unpredictability only works if grounded in control. So balance it with the next principle. Learn to vanish strategically. Silence is power's favorite ally. When you disappear for a while, people start wondering where you went, what you're planning, whether you've advanced somewhere else. The curiosity keeps your name circulating. The powerful respect those who know how to withdraw. It signals independence. You're not orbiting anyone's gravity. You have your own center. When you return with momentum. A win, mastery and insight. Something that justifies your absence. Every reappearance should feel like an event, not an accident. And this connects to a deeper layer. Your social image must always seem slightly larger than your actual status. Appear just above where you stand, not below. People rarely invite those they perceive as beneath them. They invite those who could slightly elevate the room. If you're still unknown, act known. If you're in small circles, speak with the calm certainty of someone used to bigger ones. This creates what Machiavelli might call anticipated prestige. People treat you as you seem to be becoming, not as you are. And when they do, your reality eventually catches up to your image. Still, there's danger in building impressions, which brings us to another principle. Never compete for attention directly. Let others exhaust themselves performing for the spotlight, while you build quiet credibility behind it. In every hierarchy, there are performers and there are architects. Performers seek applause. Architects create the stage. The powerful respect architects. Those who influence outcomes without needing recognition. If someone else needs credit, let them have it. It's a short-term currency. Influence is long-term wealth. The most Machiavellian operators in history never demanded acknowledgement. They made themselves indispensable, and that was enough. And yet, being indispensable has its traps, too. It can make you too visible, too irreplaceable, and therefore threatening. So, you must master what I'll call the art of controlled usefulness. Help enough to be valued, but not so much that removing you becomes impossible. Because when you're irritable, you're also intolerable. Power hates dependency that doesn't serve it. Instead, rotate your value. Offer solutions, introductions, perspectives, but never all at once. Create the sense that your usefulness evolves. Machiavelli would have said, a ruler tolerates those who help him win, not those who remind him he cannot win without them. Now, let's move into emotional politics. The terrain where most ambitious people fail. The higher you climb, the less logic governs relationships. Everything becomes emotional economics. Powerful people don't want truth. They want comfort disguised as insight. They don't want contradiction. They want confirmation flavored with challenge. They want to feel smarter after talking to you, never smaller. So the way you frame your ideas becomes your real power. If you need to disagree, phrase it as enhancement. That's a great point. Maybe adding this angle could make it unstoppable. You're not opposing. You're amplifying. You're shaping their thoughts without triggering their defense. That's how influence works, through emotional calibration, not intellectual dominance. And because of that, the next rule becomes indispensable. Always be the coolest person in the room. Power gravitates toward emotional stillness. The loudest voice may dominate attention, but the quietest one often commands respect. When others panic, stay composed. When they argue, listen. When they react, analyze. Stillness radiates control. And in any hierarchy, control is magnetic. Machiavelli taught that fear is not always enforced with violence. Sometimes it's earned through calm. Unpredictability. When people can't tell how you'll react, they proceed carefully. Your restraint becomes its own authority. From there comes the next principle, perhaps one of the hardest. Make powerful people feel safe in their insecurity. Every person of power carries hidden doubts. They worry about betrayal, relevance, loss of control. Your task isn't to exploit those insecurities. It's to see them subtly through trust. Let them feel that you understand without judgment. Share your insights privately, never publicly. The more someone believes their weakness is safe with you, the more they bind themselves to you emotionally. They may never say it aloud, but they'll start defending you in rooms you've never entered. That's real social leverage. When people with power protect you because you hold their unspoken fears, then comes a critical inversion. Never make them your entire focus. If your world revolves solely around powerful people, they will sense dependency. Dependency is repulsive to those who control resources. You must maintain other alliances, even with those beneath you. Influence works in layers. If you're respected across multiple strata, upward, sideways, and downward, no single connection defines you. This independence makes you rare. Powerful people love what they can't fully own, and they stay interested in what they can't fully predict. Now, let's talk about your demeanor. People often think social climbing means constant performance. It doesn't. It means mastering contrast. Be restrained in speech but vivid in expression. Be polite but never submissive. Be warm but never available. That delicate tension, approachable yet untouchable, is what draws people in. Power loves what glows but doesn't burn too close. If you can master that emotional distance, you'll find that people of influence begin chasing your approval without realizing it. And that's when your real ascent begins. When you stop chasing acceptance and start radiating it. When you become the type of person who seems to belong everywhere, yet owes nothing to anyone. The most dangerous social climbers aren't loud, ambitious, or hungry. They're tranquil, deliberate, impossible to place. You can't tell whether they're at the beginning or the peak of their rise. That ambiguity unsettles people, but it also attracts them, because in a world addicted to hierarchy, mystery feels like power. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said that appearance often outweighs reality in the pursuit of influence. To connect with the powerful, you must sculpt perception like an artist. Each gesture, silence, and word placed with intent. You don't need to dominate rooms. You need to design atmospheres. You don't need to win arguments. You need to guide emotions. And, above all, you don't need to climb visibly, only strategically, one invisible rung at a time. Because true social elevation doesn't happen on grand stages. It happens in whispers, glances, and moments others overlook. The real climb begins when you stop seeking to be noticed and start seeking to be remembered. But to be remembered by the powerful, you must first learn to exist within their world without ever being consumed by it. Power seduces, and the closer you get to it, the more it tries to pull you into its rhythm, its endless demands for loyalty, attention, and validation. That's where most social climbers fall. They mistake proximity or permanence. They think being invited means being accepted. But in truth, Every room of influence has two kinds of people: those who are useful and those who are used. If you don't know which one you are, you're the latter. Machiavelli would have told you, never forget that the higher you rise, the colder the air becomes. Affection fades, but utility endures. So your next task is to make your usefulness permanent, while making your dependence invisible. You do this by building leverage outside their relationship. Keep projects, networks, and influence that exist independently of them. The powerful respect autonomy more than anything because they secretly fear those who cannot be controlled. It's paradoxical. The less you need them, the more they want you close. That leads us into the next unspoken rule: never gossip upward. It's the fastest way to destroy trust in elite circles. Even a hint that you repeat private conversations will exile you quietly. The powerful operate in small paranoid ecosystems where loyalty is currency and discretion is armor. So speak less than you know. If someone confides in you, protect it like it's your own life. When word spreads that you never leak, even your silence gains value. Machiavelli would say that secrets are the truest form of power, and the man who can hold them becomes indispensable to every throne. But there's another layer here: timing. The next rule: always know when to step forward and when to fade into the background. Power is rhythm, not constant motion. Push at the wrong time and you seem desperate. Pull away too long and you seem irrelevant. The trick is to ride the natural current of their energy. When they're rising, align yourself with their ascent. Offer ideas, support, or perspective. When they're under pressure, vanish just enough to show respect for their solitude. Never outshine them when they crave visibility. Never disappear when they crave validation. The powerful remember those who read them without being told. And here's a counterintuitive truth: if you want to build genuine bonds with the powerful, don't always talk about success. Speak about struggle, not yours, theirs. Ask about the times they nearly failed, the lessons they regret, the moments no one saw. Power lives in performance, and the rarest intimacy is found in vulnerability. When someone of status realizes you see their humanity, not their title, you step out of the crowd and into their circle, because everyone flatters their strengths. Few respect their scars. Now, there's another principle Machiavelli implied, but rarely stated directly: the art of playing smaller than you are. Pretend to underestimate your own influence. Let others discover it. When you act unaware of your growing reputation, it disarms envy. The powerful prefer those who risk naturally, not those who announce their ascent. The less you advertise your climb, the more others accelerate it for you. They'll speak your name, recommend you, defend you, all while believing it was their idea. Still, this quiet ascent depends on one invisible weapon: your reputation. Guard it like gold, not through defensive explanations, but through consistent behavior. You don't correct rumors. You drown them in undeniable proof. Machiavelli warned that reputation often decides wars before they begin. If people believe you're competent, loyal, and discreet, they'll act as though you are, even if they never verify it. Perception becomes reality in the hierarchy of influence. Then comes the rule of reciprocation, one of the most subtle and most misused. People think reciprocity means returning favors equally. But among the powerful, timing matters more than equality. If someone helps you today, don't rush to return it tomorrow. Wait. Choose amends when their need is greater. When your act of return carries weight, the delay transforms a transaction into a bond. It tells them, I didn't repay out of obligation. I waited until it mattered. That single nuance can turn an acquaintance into an ally. And while you build alliances, remember this: power is attracted to composure, not chaos. The one who panics loses the room. So when conflict erupts around you, don't pick sides too fast. Let others fight for positions, while you quietly gather information. Often, the last person to speak gains the most authority because everyone else has already exposed their cards. Machiavelli thrived in such chaos by appearing neutral, while secretly directing both sides. You must learn the same. Appear unaligned until alignment becomes profitable. But neutrality alone isn't enough. Eventually, you must project influence, not loudly, but atmospherically. Influence begins when people start anticipating your opinion before you speak. You build this by asking surgical questions, not by giving speeches. Ask things that reveal intelligence without demanding attention. Over time, people will start deferring to you unconsciously. They'll wait for your reaction before forming their own. That's when you've shifted from participant to silent authority. There's a moment in every climber's journey when they realize they no longer chase introductions. Introductions chase them. That happens when your presence creates advantage for others. Maybe you attract respect or calm or opportunity just by association. The powerful collect people like that. Not because they like them, but because being near them enhances their own image. That's your ultimate leverage, to be seen as the one who upgrades a room merely by existing in it. But that kind of aura can't be faked. It's built from the quiet discipline of consistency, from showing up on time, dressing with subtle precision, speaking with measured intent, and doing what you say you'll do without ceremony. The world of influence is built on whispers, and every whisper about you either raises your name or erases it. Machiavelli would remind you that the climb itself is not the goal, transformation is. Each encounter with power must change you, sharpen you, refine your emotional control until you no longer feel intimidated by titles, wealth, or status, because when you reach the point where you can sit beside power and not feel smaller, you've already transcended it. And when you can see power not as something to bow to, but something to understand, you'll realize that social climbing isn't about manipulation. It's about mastery of perception, rhythm, and restraint. The world bends to those who move with invisible authority, those who don't rush, those who don't beg, those who know exactly when to step forward and when to let others pull them closer. But even once you're pulled close, your real test begins. Proximity to power is like standing near a flame. It can warm you or consume you depending on your discipline. Every powerful person radiates an orbit of temptations, favors, recognition, shortcuts. These are designed to seduce you into dependence. The clever social climber knows how to accept benefits without surrendering autonomy. That's the difference between those who stay in control and those who become pawns disguised as priests. The key is to take without being taken. When someone offers you opportunity, never act like it's salvation. Treat it as alignment. Frame your gratitude as partnership. Say less, thank you, and more, this will allow me to contribute better. It's a subtle shift, but it keeps you level, because once the powerful feel you owe them, they'll start testing how far that debt goes. And when you decline a comment wrapped in kindness, they'll remember it, not with anger, but with respect. It signals boundaries, and power secretly respects those who possess them. Another silent rule: never enter a room to prove yourself. Enter to observe, align, and absorb. The moment you try to prove, you give others the authority to judge. The moment you listen more than you speak, you become the evaluator. Machiavelli believed that those who rush to impress become enslaved by the opinions they seek. But those who appear content to simply understand will always seem more confident, because confidence isn't loudness. It's quiet self-certainty that needs no validation. Still, you can't remain silent forever. When you do speak, make your words weigh something. Don't talk to fill silence. Talk to end speculation. The powerful don't have time for chatter. They listen for signal, not noise. So, make your speech deliberate. If they ask for your opinion, don't rush. Pause. The pause alone builds gravity. Then answer with precision, as if you were sculpting your words from stone. People of power will lean in not because of what you said, but because of how deliberately you said it. And that brings us to another layer of control: your emotions. The higher you climb, the more you'll encounter envy, provocation, and subtle disrespect. Some will test you just to measure your composure. You must never react to insult with visible offense. A calm smile is more frightening than anger, because when others expect reaction and get stillness, they begin to question themselves. Machiavelli would call this emotional supremacy, the ability to remain unreadable in moments designed to expose you. The moment you show that you can't be emotionally manipulated, you graduate from guest to contender in any circle. Now there's a paradox here. To rise socially, you must connect deeply without ever attaching emotionally. Affection clouds judgment. It makes you loyal to people instead of to purpose. And the powerful world is ruthless with sentimentality. You conquer, but you cannot depend. You can empathize, but never idolize. Treat everyone as human, but no one is essential. When people sense that you could walk away at any moment, they handle you more carefully. Detachment in this world isn't coldness, it's armor. Yet, detachment doesn't mean distance. You must still radiate warmth. Influence is not gained by intimidation alone. It's gained through ease. The powerful surround themselves with tension, competitors, and fear. If you can make them feel relaxed, while still commanding respect, you become irreplaceable. Machiavelli hinted at this balance. Their ability to make a ruler feel both superior and safe. The safest way to do that is to project confidence without competition, intimacy without intrusion, be their quiet stability, not their storm. And here's something few ever grasp. Humor used wisely is one of the greatest social tools in existence. It disarms, connects, and signals emotional intelligence. But it must never feel performative. Laughing at the right time shows empathy. Forcing laughter shows weakness. A single well-timed comment that lightens tension can achieve more than 10 strategic compliments. Humor at its best is the language of equals. It momentarily erases hierarchy. If the powerful can laugh with you, they start seeing you as part of their inner circle rather than an outsider seeking entry. Still, laughter doesn't last, memory does. That's why the next rule is about residue. Every encounter must leave a trace. People rarely remember details, they remember impressions. After speaking to you, the powerful should feel one of three things: curiosity, admiration, or reassurance. Anything less means the moment was wasted. The best way to leave that trace is to say something that lingers, an idea, a phrase, or even a question that replays in their mind later. You're not trying to dominate the conversation. You're trying to echo in it. And to build that kind of resonance, you must become what Machiavelli would have called a student of pattern, to study how influence moves in rooms. Notice who talks to whom, who interrupts whom, who laughs at whose jokes. These are signals of power distribution. Learn them quietly. And soon you'll navigate social structures with surgical precision. You'll know when to speak, when to vanish, when to praise, and when to withhold. Every moment becomes a chess move, and you'll stop playing checkers with people still seeking attention while you're building influence. But all this strategy, all this restaurant means nothing without one essential trait: patience. The climb to connection is not measured in meetings. It's measured in impressions compounded over time. You don't conquer a hierarchy by bursting into it. You seep into it slowly, invisibly, until one day no one remembers when you arrived, only that you've always been there. And that's the invisible Machiavellian art. To rise without visible ascent, to become vital without anyone noticing the moment it happened. The world of power rewards not those who declare their worth, but those whose worth becomes quietly undeniable. And once your worth becomes undeniable, the game transforms. You're no longer the one trying to enter the room. Now you're shaping how the room feels when you're in it. But this stage demands a different kind of intelligence, a deeper own. You can no longer just seek connection with the powerful. You must now sustain it. And sustaining it requires something few people ever master: psychological distance wrapped in social closeness. You must learn how to be trusted without ever being fully known. Here's where most falter. They confuse familiarity with influence. They get too comfortable, start speaking too freely, and forget that in the presence of power, every word has weight. Machiavelli warned that the downfall of many promising courtiers came not from betrayal, but from loosened tongues. When people of influence feel you're too, they stop viewing you as mysterious and start viewing you as manageable. So you must guard your thoughts like state secrets. Reveal only what strengthens your image, not what satisfies your urge to be understood. Power rewards enigma, not confession. But that secrecy must never feel like distance. You still need to project connection. So master the art of selective intimacy. Tell small human stories, moments that reveal empathy without vulnerability. Maybe a brief tale about a mentor, a small failure that taught you precision, a fleeting insight about people. These fragments make you relatable while still keeping your inner life hidden. The powerful don't want to know your depths. They just want to feel that you have them. Now, once that rapport is built, your next move is to subtly redirect their perception of value. To go from being seen as useful to being seen as essential. Use competence to enter. Use insight to remain. Show that your thinking saves them time, protects them from error, or helps them read others more effectively. The person who can simplify chaos for the powerful becomes a quiet necessity. Machiavelli's courtiers didn't survive by being charming. They served by being the rare few who made rulers feel safer in uncertain times. That is the highest form of influence. To become a source of clarity in an environment that thrives on confusion. But clarity must come dressed as suggestion, not correction. You never tell the powerful they're wrong. You show them a better path that feels like their idea. Instead of saying, "This won't work," say, "What if we adjusted this slightly?" The goal is to steer without appearing to steer. When they repeat your idea later as their own, don't correct them. Smile inwardly. Influence isn't ownership of ideas. It's ownership of outcomes. There's another layer you must understand. Hierarchy is emotional theater. The powerful constantly perform certainty for the world. But behind closed doors, they oscillate between confidence and paranoia. They live surrounded by loyalty that's rented, not earned. So the most magnetic kind of person to them is one who feels unshakably consistent. You don't recede full with moods. You don't flatter today and withdraw tomorrow. You're a calm, enduring presence. The quiet mirror that reflects their stability back to them. Now, here's something Machiavelli never said outright, but practiced flawlessly. You must manage envy with precision. Envy is the shadow of success, and the higher you rise, the more it follows you. You can't avoid it, but you can disarm it. When someone feels threatened by your competence, redirect attention to your loyalty. When they envy your rise, attribute your success to luck or mentorship. Downplay what they can't handle, because power doesn't always attack openly. It often undermines through whispers. Your humility, even if strategic, is your shield. And while you're protecting yourself, remember to cultivate your replacements. It may sound counterintuitive, but nothing terrifies the powerful more than people who seem irreplaceable. They start imagining how to remove them. So, you do something no one expects. You empower others. You introduce new talent, delegate small victories, make others shine under your orbit. It signals confidence and security, and in the process, you weave a quiet web of loyalty beneath you. Power that depends on one person is fragile. Power that flows through many who you is indestructible. Another secret: never mirror desperation. The powerful test people constantly, not through what they say, but by how others react to their absence. If you lose composure when they go silent, you've failed. When they withdraw, you must not chase. You must mirror their stillness. Silence from power is often a test to measure your dependence. Pass it by staying unmoved. Your commerce becomes your credibility. At this stage, something strange begins to happen. People start treating you as though you belong to a higher order of perception. They begin seeking your approval, repeating your phrases, adjusting their tone to yours. Don't resist this. It's the invisible ascent Machiavelli admired, when influence flows toward you naturally, not by force. The mistake would be to celebrate it. The wise operator simply stabilizes it, never flaunts it. You must look like you carry power lightly, as if it doesn't even interest you. Nothing draws respect faster than restrained dominance. And as your circle expands, the rules of behavior shift once again. You'll begin meeting those above the ones who once seemed untouchable. Here, the air grows thinner and the risk sharper. In these upper circles, charisma loses to subtlety, and loyalty becomes theater. Everyone smiles, everyone praises, and everyone quietly calculates. The only defense here is self-containment. Never speak casually, never share rumors, and never let admiration blind you. Study the unspoken tensions. Who interrupts whom? Who compliments whom? Who leaves the room first? These are the small tremors that reveal where real control lies. And when you've earned the trust of the highest tier, your power doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from what you can withhold. Your silence becomes currency. Your approval becomes endorsement. Your association becomes validation. That's the level where social climbing ends and empire building begins. Because now the powerful don't just connect with you, they align with you. But this is where Machiavelli's final paradox emerges. Once you've mastered the art of rising, you must learn the art of stepping aside. Power is cyclical. Every empire shifts. Those who cling to proximity too long get swept away with the changing tides. The truly strategic understand when to retreat, when to fade from the court just before the fall. To disappear at your peak is to preserve mystique forever. The climb ends not at the summit, but at the perfect moment of exit.